back in the day, right? When I was thinking about going to college, the only thing I knew is I like math
Uh-huh.
and I like computers.
Okay.
And a lot of people in my family are engineers.
Sure.
So I took in Brazil we have this booklet that lists all the existing majors in the country.
Okay.
And there's a little summary. What does a person who majors in this do on a daily basis? What kinds of things they work on? What are the good universities that have this major?
Okay.
And so on. Like a little one-page summary for every career.
Okay.
So I took this book and I sat in the school library and I said, okay, I'm going to say, I have no clue what I'm going to go to college for.
Okay.
And then I flipped the page. Not this, not this, not this, not this. And I just kept by eliminating things. And the first thing I liked was this thing called zootechnician. So zootechnician, what does a person do? You go to a farm and you use math to improve the productivity of the farm. Can I make the cows produce more milk? Can I make the chicken produce more eggs?
Wow.
Can I make the fields yield more corn? And you do this analytically. You collect data and you maybe rotation of land areas, all that stuff. I'm like, well, this is fascinating because there's math and it's very applicable. And at the time, my uncle had a farm, which I used to visit very frequently, and I learned to ride horses, and we would fish and do all kinds of farmy things. Okay. And I love the farm environment. This is combining everything.
Oh, wow. So the farm environment was also a piece of it.
Yes.
It's not only the optimization.
No, it's like being near the animals and the cows and the horses and all.
That's so
and
fun.
then throw math in the mix, I'm happy, right?
You're happy. Perfect
so
combination.
Then I mentioned this to my cousin.
Yeah.
He goes, this is interesting, but you're not going to make a lot of money. You're going to go hungry. He literally said, you're going to go hungry. Okay. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to put that aside. And I kept flipping the page. Okay. And then eventually I landed in computer engineering. I'm like, okay, it's engineering. I know a lot of engineers. It's computers. I like computers. Great. Okay. So I looked up, okay, what's the #1 ranked program in computer engineering in Brazil today? Okay. It's this university. That's where I'm going. I study for the entrance exam because in Brazil it's a little different. We have this entrance examination.
What year was that?
1992.
Okay. I was 1 year old.
You were? Okay. So in 1992, I did the test for not only this one, but a few others. Okay. But this is the one I wanted. Yes. And then I started in 1993. In Brazil, we start in January. Okay. So we are the class of 1993 because also in Brazil, you label the class for the entry year, not the exit.
Okay, yes. I see.
So
that's why you didn't go into the zoo technician.
No.
You didn't go into the zoo technician.
Come to find out, now that I looked it up again, in the zootechnicians use a lot of optimization, which is the stuff I taught you.
Yes, exactly.
That comes in.
So
I could maybe, if I wanted, I've been thinking of this, go back and see, maybe go to one of these meetings of the Society of Zootechnicians or whatever, and try to see if there are problems that are interesting that I could help and go to a farm and do something.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So here, then back to college.
Yes.
I graduated as a computer engineer.
How many years?
It's a 5-year program. Yeah. Okay. And at the end of it, I was about to leave, and I did my internship, and I was thinking, I think I want to go into network security because I feel like cybercrime is the future.
In 1996, they were
in 1997. Oh yeah, no, I took an elective course in network security. Okay. Of course, no.
In 1997, they were talking
there were hackers way back when, since there were computers.
They made it a trendy thing like 5 years ago.
No. It's been there forever.
Okay.
I took an elective class in network security, and we learned about protocols and scripts and all those kinds of things. So I said, okay, you know what? This looks like it's a promising thing because there's going to be cyber thieves and cyber whatever, and I want to do this. And maybe open a company that provides, services. You are a company, you have your network. I will be the guy who makes sure you don't get hacked.
You protect your network.
And I start having a bunch of clients, and this is my business. Right? Okay. Great. This was the plan. Yes. And then one semester before I graduate, I run into this professor of mine who had taught me like a graph theory class many years before. And he grabs me by the hand. He goes, Tallys, I'm not going to let you graduate if you don't take this elective I'm teaching next semester.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay,
Wow.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Because I remember liking his class.
Yes.
So he forced me
you
to take his
the
class. And his class was integer programming,
Oh,
those
wow.
binary variables that I taught.
Okay. Yes.
And when I sat in the class, I was like, oh my God,
This is
the
my life.
greatest thing in the world.
Yes.
Forget about network security.
Wow.
I want to do this for the rest of my life. This is so cool.
Wow.
So what happened? I finished the class. I stayed and did my master's with this guy at the same department. Because at UNICAMP, the school I went to, the people who do optimization and operations are also in the CS department. It's the same department hosts both people.
Okay.
And there are some others who also do optimization, and they are in electrical engineering.
Okay. Yeah.
So these are the two groups that do optimization.
Yes.
So I stayed and did my master's with him, right? So I use my computer science training as a tool in my work.
Yes.
Meaning I have to code, I have to understand complexity of algorithms, what kinds of things run faster than others, and data structures and all of that stuff. But I have not kept up with the computer science field like a person who is in computer science would have kept up with the field.
I see what you mean. You didn't keep up with like languages, and you didn't keep up.
So here's what happens.
Yes.
I left my university knowing maybe 5 or 6 languages.
Okay.
And I was decent at, C, C++.
What they were at that time?
So we started with Pascal.
Okay.
Pascal was the first language we learned, right? And then we had to learn some other kinds of programming paradigms, like functional programming. We learned Lisp.
Okay.
And Lisp is still used today. We learned logical programming. We learned Prolog.
Okay.
Right? And then we learned, what they call assembly languages, like the lower level, like bit scrubbing, which is assembly.
Okay.
And basically, if you want something to run really fast, you go into a code and you write like an assembly subcode of that, because that's going to be super uber, sped up.
Okay.
And then things like, and then we started with C++. There was actually a summer when I said, you know what, everybody's learning C now. And I learned Pascal. I need to learn C. C is like up and coming.
Yes.
So I took a summer and I studied C by myself.
Okay, wow.
And then we had a class in C++ and some like Java and some other object-oriented programming. So the object-oriented programming paradigm I know. So for example, if I go to Python now or something else, I would understand the basic concept of classes and inheritance and all of that, but I've never coded in Python.
So the proficiency of it is not there.
Right. But the thing is, once you learn a bunch of languages and you understand what programming is about, moving to another one, it's just a matter of learning the syntax. Okay, how do I declare a new variable? How do I declare an array? How do I call a sub-function? And so this is fast, right? But I've been meaning to do Python for a while. I have not had the time.
Yeah, you will not have the time.
Yeah. So, and then what else? So I would say right now, these are the languages I'm most comfortable with. I learned some other scripting language like Perl and things like that for different kinds of jobs. But I have not, there's things like C hash and C sharp, like some other languages that I never dabbled in because it didn't need.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
And
HTML
each one serves a different application.
Exactly. So as long as you're using the right tool for the job,
it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. I mean, you could still program in C++ today and be fine instead of Java, instead of Python.
That is true. For example, currently in my company, we have some algorithms that needed to be written in C++, but we are a web-based tool.
Okay.
So it makes it so difficult.
And you have to put an interface in between.
And then you wrap them. Yeah, exactly. You wrap the C++ to work with
because you have the super efficient core.
Yes.
And now they need to speak to a user interface, and then you put something in between to transfer information.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done that many times.
Very interesting.
I've coded very large pieces of software. Some for projects in college, and some for my doctoral dissertation.
Okay.
Like gigantic pieces of software that I have to kind of keep track of all that's going on.
Wow.
I haven't done that kind of, size of program in a while.
Okay.
But I had the experience of doing something like that.
So after you graduated from the master's, you directly went to your PhD?
Here's what happened. So I finished my master's, right? I'm in love with this topic, and whoa, this is amazing. Now, in my master's, I did something kind of new at the time, which was hybridization. And the idea was, okay, there is the traditional optimization techniques, and then there's this thing that's coming from the computer science community, which is more associated with logic programming, and it's called constraint programming. So constraint programming is a different approach to decision problems that relies more on deductions and logic, rather than the way of optimization of variables, constraints, and objectives. And at the time, they both had their niche. Okay, this is good for these kinds of things. This is good for these kinds of things. Now, we had an idea to do the following. Okay, what if there's a problem that this traditional optimization technique can't handle well, and constraint programming can't handle well, but if I combine them, I crush the problem. Is there such a thing? The answer is yes. There are many. Right? So in my thesis, master's thesis, the key result was this particular problem, which was scheduling of bus drivers.
Scheduling of bus drivers.
Yes. So we spoke to a company at the time who gave us data, and they were worried about a lot of overtime and problems with the schedule, and we managed to cut down both the overtime and the number of drivers they needed, while respecting the driver has limit of hours per day. They have to rest, and we have to follow the schedule of the buses. Blah blah blah. By using a combo of these things, so we created like a hybrid model. And today, people do this all the time.
Constraint programming and deterministic programming.
In traditional optimization, right? So, when I was finishing the master's, I saw this job offer for a job in Manchester, in England.
You were still in
UK. I was in Brazil. I saw this offer for this job in the UK. And I read the job description, and I'm like, holy cow! These guys are looking for somebody who has done a hybrid work. And I send my CV immediately, right? And then I get a letter. The letter basically says, wow, you are the perfect candidate for this position. You have exactly all the skills, blah, blah, blah. I would hire you right now, but because you're not a citizen of the EU or of the UK, I cannot get you a work authorization unless you have a doctorate. And I'm like, okay, it looks like if I want to work in this area and leave Brazil, I need to get a PhD.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, let's get a PhD. Let's do it. That was the decision, right? So I started applying to, and the funny thing was, like, at the time, it's not like today, the GRE, right? The exams you have to take, they had these very specific dates. There's a GRE being conducted on July 7th. If you miss it, the next one is October. So like this, right? Today you can do online.
Online, exactly.
So the exam was coming up real soon, and after that it would be too late, right? I'm like, man, I don't have time to prepare, like, because people buy these books with sample tests and you practice. I had zero time to practice. I'm like, oh my God, I hope I can pass this. So and the other thing was, you had to go to specific places. So I was in Campinas, which is a city in the interior of São Paulo state. And the first test I had to take was in Rio, because I think it was a TOEFL. And then I had to come back to São Paulo to take the GRE. And I scheduled them both, and then I drove to Rio, took one, and then I had 1 day in interim. I drove to so like Campinas to Rio is like 6 hours by car, and then Rio back to São Paulo almost another 5 hours by car. And I did this in the process of 3 days, and taking these super exhausting tests.
Yes, of course, everybody.
Long story short, I got enough of a grade on everything to be decent. And then I waited, right? I was waiting for the replies. And then I got accepted. And if you want to go into this, but we have more stuff to talk about, there's some mini sub-stories and what happened there. But I got accepted to a Imperial College in London. I got accepted to Carnegie Mellon, which is where I ended up going. I got accepted to, I passed the first phase at Georgia Tech. And then I was put on the waiting list at MIT.
Wow.
And I really wanted to go to MIT. MIT, man. There's like
Yeah,
MIT
is the
had
dream.
already a reputation, especially in optimization
And this
in
is
Brazil.
around 1999 you're talking.
This was like, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because I started my PhD in 2000.
Yes.
So Carnegie Mellon had a good reputation, but it was more in computer science than in optimization.
Okay.
Come to find out later, it was my ignorance. Carnegie Mellon has a gigantic reputation in optimization as well. I just didn't know it.
Okay.
So from my understanding as a Brazilian looking in,
Yes.
I thought MIT was much better than CMU in optimization, when
Which was
the
not the case.
truth is like they're about the same.
Okay, I see. Interesting.
So at the end of the day, I came to Carnegie Mellon, and then I did my PhD there.
And this is how you came to the States.
I came to, this is my entering the United
Welcome
States.
to America, Habibi.
2 big bags in my hand,
Exactly.
coming out of the, stepping down from the bus and figuring out where am I?